It's the View from the Nosebleeds podcast with your hosts, Jeff Berg and Justin Everett.
One of the first childhood memories I have is going to Shea Stadium. It was 86 or 87, so the Mets were really good. And they had this brand to them, this gritty brand. You had Dykstra, they called them Nails. You had Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, right? They're known for doing coke in the clubhouse.
So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Back involved, obviously, on those runs from 07 to 11. And the Four Horsemen and all the shit that the Phillies put together in that run was tremendous. Getting to watch in person Roy Halladay throw a baseball for my team it was really what kind of built the Phillies up for me.
Halladay is 1 strike away. The 0-2. A bouncer. Ruiz. In time! Roy Halladay has thrown a no-hitter!
And now, an hour of seeing if Jeff can get the name of the show right.
Welcome to A View from the Nosebleeds. I got it right this time, Justin. Last week, I messed up the name not once, but twice.
And it happens to the best of us, buddy. It's okay.
Well, it's going to happen. Now that it's in my mind, it's going to happen all the time.
You've got a good excuse, Jeffrey. You've had a good week. Your guys are doing real well, so you're distracted. It's okay.
I don't know if you can see. I know you're broadcasting from your car. I don't know if you can see my camera, but I had no idea what to wear. I had the Washington long sleeve tee and the Mets hat. I just couldn't decide. I got the Washington colors. I'm going to switch them to the Mets colors when we get to baseball. What a week.
I'm very happy you get to gloat, Jeffrey. It's about time that somebody other than Philadelphia gets to enjoy it.
I'll try to keep my gloating in check. I'll try to keep it as professional as possible. But it's really, really hard after being down for so long to keep my expectations in check when it comes to maybe the greatest rookie sensation over the first 4 weeks of a season I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's just like with any sport, too. It's not just football. This kid, Jayden Daniels, is absolutely amazing. When we were young, we would, a Hall of Fame quarterback like Troy Aikman would complete 65% of his passes and be like, oh my God, how does he do it? Now, all quarterbacks as a whole take care of the ball so well now and are much more efficient compared to what we grew up with in the 90s and even the early 2000s. But we're talking 70, 75% is pretty elite. This kid's at 83% right now.
I told you last week, man, when we talked about him, I've had him pegged as I had him a year before the draft, the guy to pay attention to. I've seen that he had this capability and he has a level of athleticism and know-how at that position. Sometimes you can look at a guy, especially a quarterback. Eye test is so important. You can look at somebody and know that they get it. They're playing their position at a level that most people can only dream of achieving because it's just natural to them. And I juxtapose him with Jalen Hurts all the time because Jayden Daniels has all of the physical athleticism and the ability and the gifts that everyone wants in a quarterback. And Jalen Hurts has everything between the ears. But it's seemingly impossible for him to put the two together at the same time. And what you're seeing in Washington right now is you're implementing small portions of this offense, piece by piece, week over week, and you're putting this kid in a position to be as good as he possibly can be. And I have to do this every week all year, and I'm happy to eat this. You guys got the best quarterback in the draft, and you should be able to pound your chest about it.
And, Caleb Williams has gotten better, a little incrementally better each week. But, at this point, the two are so far apart.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is a very good quarterback by our normal standards, a very good quarterback.
For a rookie. He's right where he should be as a rookie.
Correct. He's a normal overachieving rookie on a trash franchise. Jayden Daniels is almost single-handedly turning a franchise around. It's a completely different world. They're incomparable. Caleb Williams, very good. Jaden Daniels, through 4 weeks, is elite. If the season ended right now, he'd be the unanimous MVP. And he would deserve it because he's been that good.
I'm not going to disagree with you. If it was another team, maybe I'd be like, well, hold on. He's still a rookie. He's got to earn his stripes. It's an elite club that you kind of have to force your way into before you should get consideration. And it's a QB-only award now. I mean, I don't know why we even call it the most valuable player because it's literally a QB-only award. But, man, he's making a case. If he keeps playing at this level, it would be hard not to consider him, even if he is the MVP. And his numbers and everything warrants it, and Washington makes makes it to the playoffs, let alone a run in the playoffs, wins a game or two. It would be hard to say that he wasn't the MVP, but I think they wouldn't give it to him just because he is a rookie. But man, he would make it tough not to. It's
especially
so
if
natural
he keeps
to
up
him.
this number, dude. If he ends the season at 78% completion percentage. I mean, I'm pretty positive no one's done better. I think 74 was Josh Allen's season. I don't think that you could all the way from him. If Washington wins 10 or 11 games and wins a playoff game, I know the playoffs aren't supposed to count, but we know they really do. If that is the level of success that he dragged Washington to in year one, I mean, that alone, right? I mean, nobody expected this team to, I think a 500 season, a 9-8 year, most of you guys would have fucking accepted immediately. No matter how you got there, it would have been great.
On the edge of the wild card was what we were hoping for, but we wouldn't have been disappointed with a 5-win season as long as he stayed healthy and looked like he was going to be the part, looked like he was going to be the real deal. We would have been happy with that. And
instead, you've got the real deal that looks like it and is winning football games, man. And if he can continue this, my God, man, this might be, if he keeps 80% of this pace, I don't think there's anybody who's going to be able to argue this isn't the greatest rookie quarterback season ever.
I mean, you're right, and it's so exciting. I mean, you have kids, right? Yeah. So, when you open up when you get those presents for them that require assembly, it's like, oh my God, is Christmas even worth it? It's especially when it says easy assembly, and then you open and there's 9,000 pieces, right? That's what a rookie quarterback is. It's so many things have to go right in order for that quarterback to be successful for a long time. That's why it's so rare. That's why the league is so desperate for franchise quarterbacks. That's why they're paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year. But opened up the box and he played quarterback perfectly immediately.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny, right, how sports go along. I have this argument with all of you Michael Jordan lovers so often. I can accept that LeBron is better than Michael because I know before I die, I'm going to see the guy that outdoes LeBron. I love the evolution of the athlete. And last year, C.J. Stroud looked like nobody was ever going to be able to play so fast, so well than C.J. Stroud did. And again, we're 4 weeks in. I don't want to project out or jinx this kid. But if he continues like this, we're going to get an even better year than what we saw C.J. Stroud do, which was mind-blowing to most of us. And it's the evolution of sport, and I love it, man. I hate a little bit because he's a Washington Redskin or Commander, whatever the fuck you guys are supposed to be called now. I hate that part. God, I love watching an elite athlete be elite in his position.
Well, it's a testament to the coaching, too. Cliff Kingsbury deserves a lot of credit. I was hard on him, week 1, week 2. The offense looked bland. He's spoon-fed him, right? We know the talent's there. We know he's smart. We know he understands the game. He went up against elite talent in college, right? He was outrunning, pro-level players at LSU for his senior year. But Cliff Kingsbury is not, you pump the brakes, right? You're going to get there. We don't need to, we're not under any pressure to win this year. We're going to make sure that we set you up for success, right? They wanted to make sure that the offensive line was capable of protecting him first. The offensive line looks better than anyone thought, worlds better than anyone thought. I mean, he was sitting in the pocket last week for, 3 or 4 seconds at times. And no one expected that from their offensive line. Cliff Kingsbury taking a step away from the pro game, going to college football, figuring his shit out, coming back, being humble enough and a big enough man to admit that what he did was not maybe the best way, but not getting away from what his identity was and implementing those things that he learned and came to terms with. I mean, a lot of people blame Cliff Kingsbury for, not Kyler Murray not being a great quarterback at this point. I mean, we've learned since that he's not the best prepared. He doesn't watch a lot of film, that kind of thing. He doesn't put in the work necessarily, or hasn't put in the work prior to this. So I applaud Cliff Kingsbury. I applaud Dan Quinn. I applaud the whole Washington organization for getting the coaching right, because we've seen so many quarterbacks in this franchise alone, their careers end because of the ineptitude of the leadership. And before they went out and drafted this kid, they made sure that they got that part right so that they wouldn't ruin his career.
And I think it's kind of the theme for this staff that Washington built. I mean, Dan Quinn, he didn't go back to college, but it's a similar situation. He failed as a head coach, had to step back into a coordinator's role and reshape how and what he did, got himself into a position where he could put together a good defense with good players and really run them efficiently. And I think Cliff Kingsbury did that same thing going to college, understanding what these quarterbacks see every week, understanding what the progress of the role of a quarterback in college is. I think it's probably the most important thing for an OC in the NFL to know as a rookie quarterback. If you're so disconnected, you've been in the NFL for 15 years and you haven't seen a college playbook in 15 years. It's really difficult to give a 22-year-old who's never played in the NFL a 700-page binder and say, study this over the summer. That's not really winning ways, and that's what they've done for 20 years. And I think this could be the set of a new model. I think the college ideas is the big part already, right? They want new innovative plays. They want different motions. That's already part of it. But to understand how to get a quarterback who's at an elite level in college to progress through that in the NFL so quickly is something that people need to pay attention to, man. This isn't an accident, right? You got to have the guy. The guy's got to have the talent. But the talent is only as good as the position you put it in. And so far, this coaching staff has done a great job of putting him in the right spot.
Yeah. And, I would push back a little bit and say, Dan Quinn wasn't a failure as a head coach. He got to a Super Bowl, he lost, but there's a lot of people that have such a big ego, especially in sports, that would be like, I'm a Super Bowl coach. I got to a Super Bowl. I'm not taking a DC job. I'm not giving up control here. He humbly went to the Cowboys and focused on his side of the ball and being the best defensive coordinator he can be. And then came. So I think that makes it even more impressive. Him taking a step back is the fact that he did go to a Super Bowl as a coach. He had the credentials.
And since you brought them up, I have to make this shot because I am an Eagles fan and we can't say Cowboys and I not take a shot. I also think that it's reasonable that Dan Quinn, while working under one of the 5 worst head coaches of my lifetime, probably learned a lot of what not to do the next time he got a shot.
Well, it's Mike McCarthy and the whole motivation thing is like, ugh. Dan Quinn is a rah. I think the players love him. And one could argue that a reason why that team had the success it did is because of him. The players love playing for him.
No question. Look no further than Dan Campbell in Detroit. That kind of guy is a lot of the reason why you find success.
Yeah. So something I think we can't overlook, the offense is exciting. They put up huge numbers 2 weeks in a row now. But the defense has been terrible. Absolutely one of the worst start to a defensive campaign I've ever seen. Historically bad. They showed up. Now, I know you don't like Kyler Murray. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's not consistent, but he has the capability to run all over you. He has he's got the arm talent to hit receivers in stride down the field. He's got a talented number 1 receiver, again, right out of the box. Really, really good. The defense on that, on that team is good. So it gets them the ball back. We saw, they turned Jaden Daniels over for the first time. So it's not like it was a cakewalk. I'm not saying that they're the best offensive team in the league, but there's for a defense that looks so terrible, this was scary. I was thinking 200 yards from Marvin Harrison,
Yeah, and Kyler Murray is that guy where he'll break your defense down with his legs and start picking you apart. I mean, he's done it to the Eagles plenty. I'm not unfamiliar. Listen, man, I don't understand this. My defense started off tremendous, and it seems like they're forgetting how to play football week by week. I don't get this. But yeah, man, I think that there's something to be said for repetition and for regularity. These NFL players are creatures of habit. Whatever they're doing in the offseason is not what they do through the regular season. And I think cohesive units are really important on defense. And I think you saw a secondary that played really well together. There wasn't a lot of guys running around not knowing where they were supposed to be or where their safety was on the play. There wasn't a whole bunch of miscommunication. Shit that you expect out of defenses to play poorly. Things that I think you'd agree were a bit of a problem in the first couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
And it seemed like they got it all together almost at the same time against a quarterback who, you're right, I don't think Kyler Murray is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but he's a good one because there's no such thing as a bad starting quarterback. He's a good one, and he had that unique capability where if you have him shut down on the outsides, he'll just run down your throat. He'll make you spread out, and it'll start picking you apart afterwards. It was an impressive defensive day. I think you deserve all of the gloating in the world. The Washington football team seems legitimate, much to my chagrin, but I'm happy that you get to be happy for once, Jeffrey.
Well, a good, strong NFC East is good for football, and it's exciting. Watching those four teams beat up on each other every 8 times a year is good. It's good TV. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think it goes overlooked sometimes how important a GM is to a football team, right? If I owned a franchise, it would take a lot for me to hire a coach that wants full personnel. It's too much. It's too much to handle.
Sure.
And coaches are too close to it, right? They want their guys. They need to be kept in check. We saw it with Belichick. The demise of, granted, he lost the greatest quarterback in history, but they were on the decline a little bit. Talent-wise, not a little bit, a lot of it for a long time because Belichick had control, final say in all personnel decisions. Brady is so good that he was able to overcome that. But the reason why Brady left is because he knew that his time was running short and his skill set was becoming limited. He didn't want to overcome it anymore. He wanted to go to a place that had talented receivers so that he can execute like he's capable of doing and not have to worry about elevating people so much. I wouldn't hire a coach that wanted full control. I want a football mind. I want a GM who's a good talent evaluator and who is humble enough to put a great team around him to manage the cap, to do the scouting, and is willing to take their input. Leave it to the experts. And a coach cannot be a great coach. I mean, I shouldn't say can't. There's unicorns, right? But very rarely can you find a great coach and a great GM combined, right? It's one or the other most of the time. Just be good at what you're good at and be happy with that.
I think most of the time is understating it. I think there truly is one unicorn, at least in the modern era, and it's Andy Reid. He's the only guy that's been successful that way. And again, Andy Reid has a general manager where he does defer some of the work to, and he does have the final say. But he's the only person, at least in the last 35 years that I know of, that had real success at that. Because Bill Belichick cannot be counted because we saw what happened when Tom Brady left. We understand now with hindsight that dynasty was completely and wholly on the shoulders of Tom Brady, not Bill Belichick. Now, again, you want to talk about the coaching. In-game, Bill Belichick's an elite-level coach, no question. Yeah. But he certainly could not build that roster out. And I agree with you. I think a GM is one of the most undervalued things. I would know I have the best one in the last 20 years.
You do. You've had a great one.
Howie Roseman, twice in the last 5 years, has completely reset this roster in runoff season without sacrificing the cap space of the following year, without selling out all of the future and losing every draft pick. And I think that's a big thing that people don't really take. They take for granted. When the Eagles are bad, the first guy they want to fire is Howie Roseman every time. And it's mind-boggling to me because very clearly Nick Sirianni's the moron in the room, not Howie Roseman. And if you look at what he did with the Carson Wentz deal, you pay a guy $200 million and then 7 months later, basically, you opt out of that contract, trade him away, take the largest dead cap hit in history at the time. We've had a worse one since. but the largest dead cap hit, still compete the next year, make the playoff, and then the following year go to the Super Bowl with a completely new roster. It is an absolute necessity for a team to have a good head coach that can handle your day-to-day operation, make sure you're inspiring your players, make sure the execution's right, and then there should be a guy whose job is to give that coach the right pieces. They have to work in tandem, of course. You can't have a shit GM and a great coach or a bad coach and a great GM. They don't work together opposites. But if you can find a guy that can coach a football team, you'll find yourself a Dan Quinn that can inspire a locker room, that can make sure his team knows why execution is important, that can cross the T's and dot the I's, and you pair him with a GM that can find you real talent, late rounds in the draft, free agents that were a little bit slept on elsewhere and know how to make a rotation. That ability is what changes teams from mid-level teams to playoff contenders. And that is something, again, much to my chagrin, Jeffrey, I don't need it, but I love it for you. I think you should be proud of it.
Here they come. You're going to hear the fight song a lot over the next 10 years.
I hate it so much.
And look, Adam Peters comes from the great San Francisco organization, which John Lynch is a great GM. He's done exactly what you said. And, we had all this cap space. Washington had the most cap space of any team this year. And I think we spent half of it. And, fans were beach. Quick detour here. I quit all of the Facebook fan pages, but, and then we started the show, and in order to market it and build up an audience, I gotta put the clips where the people are, where the fans are. And so I had to join not just Washington's, but Phillies too. They are mind-numbingly stupid. It's infuriating. Like they're still fans on the Washington page that are like, I don't care how good he is. We should have stuck with Sam Howell and drafted a left tackle. Like, dude, fuck off. I think Sam Howell's a good quarterback, and he got a bad deal. But
it's a mind-boggling proposition to watch Jaden Daniels through 4 weeks and be such a mouth-breathing moron. We call them hoagie mouths in Philadelphia. We have plenty of those fans. Don't worry. To be such a mouth-breathing, hoagie mouth moron, to watch this kid for 4 weeks and even approach the idea that Sam Howell would have been a better option. You have to be deaf, dumb, and blind, bro. I don't get it. It makes no sense.
It's ridiculous. And like I said, I think Sam Howell could be a good quarterback. He's got a great arm. He got a bum rap with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy was an unmitigated disaster. And I wanted them to hire. I thought he deserved a shot, but and Andy Reid, I mean, God bless him. He talked him up and everything like that, as he should have. But it's never been more clear that offense is 100% Andy Reid's. Eric Bieniemy is terrible, a terrible coach. Look at what he's doing to UCL. He's completely ruining that program. That offense is pathetic in college. Like, he is not even a college coach. And he didn't run the ball. His receivers couldn't get separation. We're talking Terry McLaurin, a $20 million receiver who, with 10 different quarterbacks, was able to gain 1,000 yards, right? In 3 straight years, had trouble in that offense. Like, Terry McLaurin, it doesn't complain. He puts his head down. He runs his routes, and you don't hear from him. He just does his job. And anyway, what Adam Peters has done in 1 year, and one draft. Like, granted, he made some real logical signings. He didn't make any huge splashes. He brought in team guys, good rotational players, not superstars, because there was not a superstar worth signing to him. So very disciplined in free agency, but not cheap. And then in the draft, which is how you have to build a team in this league, he might have found not only a franchise quarterback, which would have been enough. If that's all he got right in this draft, I'd be celebrating him. Great job, dude. But may have found a left tackle in the 3rd round, a franchise defensive tackle who is to replace eventually one of their aging defensive tackles who are underperforming right now. Really good contributors at wide receiver, cornerback. Absolute home run. And he's coming in without his people at first, right? He gets hired. The draft is right around the corner. He can't revamp his staff. He's using the previous regime's staff, and he was able to identify these players and this talent. I mean, huge difference. Huge difference.
This lauding of your Washington football team GM is a great jumping point into my rant about my Philadelphia football Eagles. I think it's possible, Jeffrey, that this might be the first miss year of Howie Roseman's tenure. I think it could be. If Bryce Huff played 18% of the snaps last week, who got, I believe it was a $63 million contract after he traded Hassan Reddick, which was just bananas. Jordan Davis had a good game, and he's put two together, but that guy just, I don't know. He's a run stuffer, and I guess that's great. But to draft a run stuffer at like number 11, it pisses me off. Jalen Carter looks good. That's cool. But he fell to you at 9 because he had a bad pass and you got lucky. Quinyon Mitchell is going to be an elite cornerback, but he fell to you at 22 because of a run-on corners, a run-on quarterbacks, and a run-on wide receivers. I don't know if Howie's losing his touch. I hope he isn't. But my God, is this product that I'm watching on a week-to-week basis just consistently getting worse. Every week since week 11 last year, I've just seen them get worse. I've seen Jalen Hurts miss more open throws. I've seen him miss more reads. I see a team that might be down 2,000-yard receivers. That might be a fact. But they're also up Saquon fucking Barkley. That's not nobody. You didn't go from DeAndre Swift to David Montgomery and get a little better. You went from a middle-of-the-pack running back to the second or third best one in the league. And I just can't understand. It's got to be Nick Sirianni. I'm still going to die on this hill. Nick has got to get fired. He is the fucking problem. And my hope is that this isn't a repeat of a few years ago when they started 2-5 and he handed the whole offense over to Shane Steichen and all of a sudden everybody remembered how to play. I hope that's not the case, but I can't believe that it isn't until Nick Sirianni gets fired.
Yeah, this dude seems like he's got an ego because wasn't he forced to hand the offense to Steichen? Well, didn't that come down from the top? Or wasn't Roseman or Lori like, you got to do it?
I don't like to admit this out loud because it harkens us a little bit too close to those fucking Dallas Cowboys. But Jeffrey Lurie is probably the second most involved owner to Jerry Jones. Now, thankfully, Jeff Lurie is not a delusional old man. That helps us. However, I don't think anybody really ever has believed that the direction of this football team and the coaching staff is not directly handed down by Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman. I believe that. I think Doug Peterson is where you have to look. Doug Peterson wanted to bring back Carson Welch and the other fucking guy, the passing game coordinator that sucked. And Doug Peterson got fired for not going along with the front office. So my assumption is, yes, he was forced to do it the first time, and I hope they force him to do it the second time. But metaphors, fire this motherfucker. He's terrible at his job.
Well, I have to agree with you. I see Jalen Hurts missing open throws. Like, yes, you're missing two wonderful receivers, but you have another number one receiver there. Jahan Dotson was drafted at number 16. Whether he deserves to be or not is not relevant. He was. He probably is closer to a second round or a third round receiver, but he tore up the Big Ten, right? He played against Michigan and Ohio State every year. Like tore those teams up.
More importantly, this isn't Jalen Reagor, who was drafted at 22 or wherever the fuck they drafted that moron from TCU, who never performed in the NFL. John Dotson wasn't a 1,200-yard receiver, but he played well for Washington. He's got to be good.
His rookie year, he had 7 or 8 touchdowns. He missed a couple games, but 600 yards. Like he was, and he wasn't the first option. It was McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, and then him. He should be able to fill in against a team like Tampa Bay and have a couple catches for a first down here and there, right? Take some attention away from Goddard and Barkley, and they're just not using him. I don't get it. I don't. And some of that has to be on him because he wasn't doing it in Washington his second or third year either. But again, Bieniemy was a terrible coach.
Well, we just lauded your coaching staff for what they're doing with Jayden Daniels. I'm sorry. You're going to tell me that a franchise like Washington, no offense, is able to take a rookie quarterback and this new coaching staff, everybody brand new, and implement piece by piece and get these guys moving along. John Dotson has been here for a few weeks. He's an NFL player already. He's already learned an NFL route tree, an NFL concept. You're not teaching him from scratch. You just need him to adopt your terminology. And after 3 weeks, it's not, you don't have enough comfort for him to be able to perform. It's an indictment on the head coach, Jeff. And Nick Sirianni needs to be fired. He won't be, but he needs to be fired.
Yeah. And what did Barkley have? 10 carries? Like, granted, they were down early, but I mean, that's not enough.
No, see, and again, this is another one of these hoagie mouth moron fucking points I have to listen to on WIP. They played for him down. Saquon Barkley has 5 runs already this season, over 50 yards. This season. Not in the last 5 years, this season. He is a guy that can break a game open or bring you back in a game. That's how good he is at his position. And if you're worried about running the ball because your O-line's not doing great, you love screens, Nick Sirianni. I've been watching tight end screens for 3 fucking years that fail every time you have the player that can run that play, and now it's gone from the fucking playbook. Jeff, my brain's gonna break. I can't. The level of incompetence is almost unbelievable. And because Jeffrey Lurie is a fucking old school football guy and he believes in cohesion and maybe it can turn around, I'll never see a coach as bad as Nick Sirianni, deservedly fired mid-season. I'll have to wait until the fucking wheels come completely off again and I miss the playoffs this year before they'll fire this fucking guy.
And being banged up, it does not excuse how the defense played against, but Baker's having a good year. But, I mean, come on, it should have been closer. You should be able to make a stop here and there and keep the game somewhat close.
Jeff, you're 100% right. Banged up offense is not a good reason for why that defense was bad, but we also have to take into account here that for the first 3 weeks, they've been better than they should have been. And while they've been better than they should have been, their quarterback is turning the ball over more and more and more every single week.
That does. I mean, that hurt. Well, you know how you stop that? By running the ball.
Exactly. Because Saquon doesn't fucking fumble. I don't get it, Jeffrey. I can't. I have tried for like 6 days to really try to get into the mindset of what the fuck we're trying to do. And I can't even understand the scheme that Nick Sirianni has. And I had this concern the day after they hired Kellen Moore and they had the press conference and Nick Sirianni was asked directly, whose offense is this? And his answer was, well, it's going to be a little bit of mine. It's going to be a little bit of Kellen. We're probably going to do some stuff we did with Shane. There is no direction.
Yeah,
what happens to a group of people with no direction, Jeffrey? They wander in the night, and that's what I have. A football team wandering in the night.
This can be used in any sort of business where there's a leadership structure. When I'm on set, when I'm directing one of my films, I start off our meeting before we film one shot and say, look, I care about all your voices. I care about all your input. But when we're on set here, there can only be one voice. So if you have something to say, if you have a suggestion, if you have something that you're seeing that I'm not, fine. Tell your department head, and then they will tell me. Do not talk to my actors. Do not talk to my DP. Do not get in their heads and in their one voice. Otherwise, it gets confusing. They're looking in a bunch of different directions, and then we have a complete failure, right? It's not that your voice isn't important. It's that it can't be confusing.
When you've got a director, right, like Nick Sirianni is supposed to be, and your star actor, Jalen Hurts, who can't even have a fucking conversation with each other, what do you think the result's going to be? It's going to be shit movie, and it's going to be a shit football team. And here we are.
Well, your shit movie is taking a break right at the right time. Like this, I mean, early bye weeks are usually bad news, but in this case, I think it couldn't come at a better time. They're getting healthy, right? They're getting their star offensive lineman back. They're getting both their stud receivers back. Certainly, there can't be any excuses after this, right?
If they don't come out week after next, not next week, it's Wednesday. We still have a week of football to play. If they don't come out week after next out of the bye and win convincingly, forget
against
alarm
the Browns.
bells.
It's the Browns.
Forget against the third worst team in football. Forget alarm bells. Forget sirens. It's a 7-alarm house fire, and there's no saving the franchise. I'm telling you now, if people think that there is redemption, it has to come the week out of the bye week. If they struggle against the Browns and they win by 4, or they win on a late touchdown or a field goal and the game is close all the way up until the end, there is going to be no confidence built by that. There's going to be a bunch of guys who feel like they fucked up execution because they have no direction from their head coach. And we're just going to be in this swamp of average. And I don't want average in my fucking football team. This is the Philadelphia Eagles. We're not average. Nick Foles won a fucking Super Bowl here. Jalen Hurts should be able to win regular season games convincingly against the fucking Buccaneers and the Browns. I'll go ballistic, Jeffrey. I might not even be able to speak if they lose after the bye.
All right. Justin's going to ride. You heard it here first. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk baseball. I'm going to switch my lights over to the blue and orange because, we look like we're on a collision course. Mets,
I can't wait
Phils.
to get into it.
Oh, man. What an absolute great end to the baseball season. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to a view from the nosebleeds. 2 for 2 today.
Good job, Jeffrey. Proud of you.
Let's talk baseball. Now, you clinched. You're good. You guys are sitting back. A lot of people, a lot of Phils fans on the message boards have been worried that they lost 4 out of 5 to end the season. But I would say don't worry. When you've clinched, it's time to, give your players a little bit of a rest. It's a long season, right? Baseball is 162 games. You're playing every day. Everybody's banged up, sore, mentally exhausted. Baseball is a mental game more than anything, and it's exhausting. So, given the players that are banged up, like a Bryce Harper, some, couple innings off here and there, just tone down the energy because you're going to have to ramp it up here soon. So I wouldn't be worried about that, but I would be worried about perhaps a team of destiny.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Look, did you watch the doubleheader? You're probably working on I work from home, so I'm able to watch it. But
I did not watch both games. I watched the first game, which was really the only important one to watch.
Yeah.
I have a comment about that first game, though. So Francisco Lindor essentially wins you a playoff spot, right? Wins you a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a person so nonchalant ever in my life. It's almost like he doesn't care. And I think that's a bigger concern than people talk about. But
he cares, Justin.
I want you to have your flowers. I will criticize your Mets in a moment. I want you to have all your flowers. Talk about your doubleheader.
Okay, so first of all, Major League Baseball screwed this up. They knew the hurricane was coming for a fucking month. And they knew that Atlanta was going to get hit for a fucking month. And they didn't move the games, right? And these games were essential, right? So what had to happen was they had to move it to the day of rest for all teams. Now Atlanta and the Mets get screwed because they have to play a doubleheader, and one of them or both of them are going to have to play the very next day against a team that had a day off, played a regular schedule, right? Boo-hoo, I know no one cares. Your professionals do it. Well, they fucking did. Right? That was one of the most exciting regular season games I've ever seen. Now, granted, the Mets, these wild card teams, this is what I love about the changes to the schedule and the addition of these wild card teams and so many teams. We've been witnessing playoff baseball for a month. It's been this year. I mean, so many teams are in it. A lot of times, a team will sneak into the wild card with 83 wins, 84 wins. I mean, we're talking 80, 89, 90 win wildcard teams here. This was really, really high quality baseball being played most of the season, if not the whole season. And to finish it up on a doubleheader where if you're following it, and as a Mets fan, you should be, but it is a little bit confusing. If all they needed was one win to get in, and Atlanta needed one win to get in. If they swept the doubleheader, if either team swept the doubleheader, that team would be out and Arizona would be in. So Arizona's rooting for the team that wins the first game. They're out now because they split the doubleheader. But this first game was, against the Mets just have this stigma about the Braves. They can't beat them in big moments, right? And so that's lauding over their head. And winning that first game was so important. There's so much pressure on this team, and they're putting out a guy who is having an okay season, but he's inconsistent. He's not a superstar. He rarely goes more than 4 or 5 innings, but recently has been pitching pretty well. Francisco Lindor has a bad back. If you've ever tried to do anything with a bad back, a sore back, it's hard. It hurts. It's painful. You're limited in your movements. We saw him trying to play defense, and he's not as rangy as he usually is. His throws are low. He is struggling through this injury. We see him step up. Pete Alonso is mired in a slump right now. He's getting his hits, but he's striking out in big moments. J.D. Martinez, one of the best hitters in the past pure hitters in the past 5 or 6 years, like consecutively, is mired in the worst slump of his career. He was like 0 for 37 leading up to that. All of them contribute in a big way. They get down early. They can't score a run. They can't get a hit until like the 7th inning, where they put up 6 fucking runs to come back. And then they turn it over to the bullpen. The bullpen blows it. Edwin Diaz comes in, right? Carlos Mendoza says, you need to get me 5 outs. This motherfucker fails to do the most basic baseball thing ever. He makes a pitch that would get him out of the inning, and he doesn't cover first base, and it goes for an infield hit, and Atlanta ends up going up a run. Then the true National League MVP comes up with a runner on, a bad back, and like smokes one to right center field. I thought it was going to be an out. I didn't think it was going to get out of there. And
then had the most lame, boring home run shot I've ever seen. Continue.
I think what you witnessed there was a very long, hard season. It all coming in perspective to him. Like all of that fell on him, and I don't know. He was overcome with emotion. Have you ever been so overcome with emotion that you don't really show emotion?
I mean, sure. Not in a moment that big in relativity to my life. No. Well, no.
There's a couple things here, Justin. Number one, Francisco Lindor is a pro. He's been to the dance before, not in a while, not since Cleveland. But the other thing is he has become such the face of the team. He should be the captain. They should name him captain for the playoffs and for the rest of his contract here. He has embraced New York. New York has embraced him even through his struggles. He's a notoriously slow starter. He was sub 200 in May, and he ends up hitting 271 and having one of the best seasons a shortstop has ever had. So much went on this season. So the Mets were, 11 games under 500 starting in June, and they ended up with they ended up having the best record in baseball since that moment. Like, there's so much that they overcame. I don't think he was capable. But at the same time, the other part of this is he knows that they haven't won anything yet. The goal is to win a championship. When Steve Cohen bought this team, he said, if we don't win a championship in the next 5 years, it will be a failure. Francisco Lindor has bought into that. So they have not won anything yet. When they win something, that's when you will see the relief, the true emotion, the true gratitude, the true excitement really overcome him.
Is it time for sobering reality yet? Have you gotten out? Have you gotten out all of your rah emotion? I thought the Rocky music was apropos, describing that at bat there for Francisco Lindor.
No, it's not quite. So after playing a doubleheader, being exhausted, playing 2 games while Milwaukee got a day off to just relax, do whatever they want to, spend time with their family, they had to leave Atlanta, fly to Milwaukee, and play a game at 5:00. That they won in a very similar fashion. They came from behind and won. Said he didn't have his best stuff.
We both know that model is unsustainable, right?
Well, that's why it's so important that they win tonight's game, because they need a day off at this point. But look, we're going to talk about this in a second. But the wild card round, first of all, it's really exciting. I love this format. 3 games. The higher seed gets home field advantage. That's the way it should be. So a 3-game series, you got to win 2 out of 3. But since they implemented, it hasn't been a long time, but since they implemented this system, I think it's like 88% of the teams that win the first game go on to win this, win the series and go on to the next round. So we are on a crash course, my friend. Mets Phillies in the divisional round. which is what we both hope for.
All right, so let's cover some of the things that you talked about real quick. First of all, Team of Destiny. I don't know what God you pray to, but you got to stop laying jinxes out, my man. You're just giving every reason for this to blow up. Knock on some wood, Jeffrey. Good Lord. All right. First of all, how the Mets got into the playoffs, impressive. Can't say anything else about it. It was a tremendous game. I only watched the first one. It was great. I am happy that they split because I hate the Arizona Diamondbacks for a reason we don't need to get into. Everybody knows. Okay. The Mets are a great feel-good story. I can't disagree. To say that Francisco Lindor is a consummate professional, first of all, is wild, number one. Number two, to say that you're so overcome with emotion, but then juxtapose it with you haven't won anything yet. Of course they haven't won anything yet, Jeffrey, but they've never been this close to winning anything anyway. Like this is their first chance of the Francisco Lindor era. And you would think that you'd get some emotion, right? Like I go back to Bedlam at the Bank with Bryce Harper, with Rhys Hoskins, first home run in the playoffs after an 8-year career with the dreadful Phillies team. There's emotion, man, and it shows that you care. And I've always looked at Francisco Lindor as a player who is very good, but doesn't really care as much as some other guys. Now, you don't need that to win. It's not a condemnation on his ability to help you win a title. I just don't think that that's the superstar guy that people think he is. First,
oh my God, he cares so much.
No, he doesn't. The collision, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Rhys Hoskins almost broke his bat in half on the first playoff home run he ever hit, which was what puts him ahead in the first game he ever played in. That's emotion. That's caring. That's caring deeply. That's not everybody's. Every moment, Jeffrey. Every moment of Rhys Hoskins' life.
That's not everybody's personality.
I don't. Again, it's not a condemnation on whether he's good enough to help you win. I don't like that guy being my superstar. I love damnation. Anyway, the collision course. I hate to break this to you. You're not winning tonight. It's not going to happen. Rhys Hoskins is probably going to be the reason because I know that him and the Mets have such a tremendous history. I love that Chase Utley retires and Rhys Hoskins becomes the devil to the Mets. I love it. It's my favorite. So I think that there is a chance, Jeffrey, that we meet each other. But again, I think there's a little bit of a sobering reality necessary here. The team that you're going to meet in Philadelphia with home field advantage, as we discussed before, I think in the first episode, Citi Field is a fun place when it's hopping. We agree. It's going to be a great place to have playoff baseball. But this entire team has never tasted that. The Phillies, on the other hand, have done it 3 years in a row. And Citizens Bank Park is going to be a nightmare for these Mets. You've got players who apparently are so overwhelmed with emotion they have none. You're not prepared yet. I want to prepare you for this being a step for you guys. Again, I want to say this. I hate the Braves. I'm tired of the Braves being the cream of the crop of the East. I want a new team. I want the Mets to be good year over year and be a real rivalry 90 minutes away. I'd love it. I would love it. But Jeffrey, Team of Destiny is 100 steps too far. Again, they haven't won yet. If you win tonight, I will start next week's episode by calling the Mets the Team of Destiny.
Oh, here we go. Our first real bet here. Let me read you something here because this guy, Frankie, and the game is underway right now as we speak. Frankie Montas, that's who the Milwaukee Brewers are starting. Never heard of this guy before, right? And they have other pitchers. They have some decent pitching. I don't know why they're starting this guy. They have, they're on regular rest at this point. They can move somebody up. They have the extra day off. Look, career postseason, 4 games this guy's pitched. He's 1-1 with a 9.45 ERA.
That's okay. He only got once, bro.
His last 7 games, he's 1-3 with a 5.70 ERA.
But Jeffrey,
he averages
against the Mets
4.5 walks per 9 innings. The Mets are a very patient hitting team. They'll take their walks.
Jeff, they're playing the Mets. Anything can happen. I'm not trying to shit talk the Mets. I'm just
baseball.
saying.
Of course, anything can happen. But what
I'm saying is, your question,
the stars are aligned, Justin.
The reason why
there's
you go
a higher power going, like pulling the strings here. And that higher power is a fucking Mets fan.
Jeffrey, you go Frankie Montas in game 2 because you lost game 1. You need an ace to go game 3 because you need 2 games to advance. That's why Frankie
but you
Montas
need to win
is pitching
tonight.
today.
You need to, if you're down 0-1, you need to win tonight. You don't get
But
tomorrow unless you win today.
even if you win tonight, you want to give yourself the best chance to win game 3. That best
You have to
chance is
get to
probably your
game
number
3.
2 pitcher.
You have to
Yes.
get to game 3.
And
We
the
have
Milwaukee
Sean
Brewers
Manaea,
have an
our best
offense.
pitcher, going right now. The stars
Lord.
are aligned. God is a Mets fan, Justin. Whatever God is
He is.
out there.
You're going to get me canceled. You can't set me up like that. I can't. Okay, fair, fine. Maybe God is a Mets fan, but I know that God can't beat the Phillies in Citizens Bank Park. Only the Arizona Diamondbacks can.
On to the next one. I've been monitoring the Phillies message boards, Justin, and the consensus is overwhelming that they prefer not to face the Mets.
Didn't we just talk about the hoagie mouths of the internet earlier?
Yeah, but those were different. These people know what they're talking about.
because they're afraid of your team. They know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Listen. This is a Philadelphia unique thing, and I know that you are a Rogue fan for some reason, which I'm sure we've discussed. But you know this because you live here. The Philadelphia fan base cannot deal with controversy or struggle. The second something looks like it's bad, the sky is falling like Chicken Little. The second that a division rival looks good, the Phillies are going to suck. This is just Philadelphia fandom, Jeff. Don't ask me to explain it. I don't get it. But these hoagie mouth morons that are the ones that have the time to comment on message boards on Facebook are the people who, as soon as it looks like it might not be great, these are the people, Jeff, where Zach Wheeler's pitching and gives off a leadoff home run, and before the first pitch to the second batter is thrown, think that the Phillies have already lost the game. These are those kinds of people. I won't disagree that it seems like we're running into a Mets team that's got a really fucking good and cool narrative behind them. But, in my opinion, sports, especially baseball, most times talent wins out. And I think that if we're being real with each other, we can understand and come to the agreement that there is no competition, there is no argument, there is no controversy. The Philadelphia Phillies are head and shoulders a more talented team than the New York Mets.
I disagree. I think it's very close.
That's
You might have the
bananas.
edge, but I think it's close.
Do you want to take 5 minutes and just go position by position real fast? We can do it quick enough.
Let's save that for next week when they're playing each other.
Okay, because hopefully they're not, and then I'll just be right by default.
Here's a question for you. This playoff setup, as much as I like it, I think it's a huge disadvantage for the teams that earned the bye. Because I think all said and done, I think it's going to end up being 5 days off. Baseball's a rhythm sport. There's a reason why you play 162 games and not 80 games, because you need to play every single day. You need to have, it's a timing game. It's a rhythm game, and it's a beautiful game. 1 day off, 2 days off. There's a reason why, going into an all-star break where someone is super hot at the plate and you take 4 days off, and you don't play and then come back and they start slumping. There's a reason for that. What you got, it's essentially an extended all-star break here. Do you agree, number one, it's a two-part question. Number one, do you agree that it's a disadvantage? And number two, how do we fix that?
Well, so I won't know until this year, because I've always looked at it through the lens of a Phillies fan, obviously, since this playoff setup has come. And we have been on the beneficiary end of what you're talking about. We made the wild card. We played a day after the season ended. We played right into the divisional round, right into the championship round, and kept rolling. So there's a lot of hoagie mouths that throughout the season, as the Phillies were leading the division, there's a lot of morons who are like, start losing. You don't want the bye. And I don't know, right? I think the sampling size is too small right now. It's only a couple of years. I don't know that bye is necessarily bad. I think currently, because of how rhythmic the sport is, it's easy to look at it and say that that's true. So first, I want to see it for a handful of years. If there's some adjustments that some of these elite teams make, and it doesn't affect them the way that it's affected the Dodgers, the way that it's affected the Braves. If teams figure this out, I don't think it's going to be a disadvantage. If it is a disadvantage, I'm going to be honest with you. Other than going to a single game wild card, but just more of them, I don't know that you're able to remedy this.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really say that the team that wins the bye just continues playing, but they have nobody to play until the wild card's over.
Well, what if
So
you
I
went
think
like?
that-
What if you went like? The Mets are the 6th ranked team. What if you went 6-1? They play a 3-game series, 6-1, and do it that way.
and like eliminate the buys entirely and just keep your
Yeah.
3-5-7. I
Yep.
mean, it's. I think that would probably, if it turns out to be a problem, these days off for the elite teams. I don't think that the MLB is going to be able to sustain the growth they've made out of these rule changes. If the best teams start to lose every single postseason because of this break, I think that's probably the only way you'd be able to look at it. You do it like the NBA does. It's a bracket. The worst team plays the best team, and you just restructure all the way down to the World Series. I think that would probably be the only way that you could approach this without either eliminating the wild card altogether or changing that 3-5-7 series. And you'd have to go to a single game playoffs. And I didn't like that when they had them, that single game wild card. I didn't like that anyway. It was just another regular season game to me. I didn't think that did anything with the sport. So I think if it does
baseball,
turn out to be a competitive disadvantage, that would be the only way they could address it. That would be the only possible system that doesn't allow for a week off for the number one seeds.
Yeah, and finally, I mean, I might be a little bit biased here, but to me, the baseball playoffs are the most exciting setup. The NBA, yes, when it gets down to the last 4 teams, the conference
The East and
championship
West finals, conference finals.
Even before the round before that, that's what I mean. Like in each,
Conference.
and then it
I
starts to
got
get
you.
exciting. But the first round and the first round is really, really bad a lot of times. Hockey, I'm not really into, but I know that people really like the hockey playoffs.
Other than the Heat in the bubble, and I think the Tampa Bay Lightning in hockey did this a couple years ago. It's only been a couple of times that a 7 or an 8 seed has actually advanced.
Yeah, it's
So
exciting when
first-
it happens, but it doesn't happen so it doesn't happen often enough to be like not expecting it, but be excited that it could happen, right?
Well, and the NBA's issue, and I find this with the NHL also, talent parity is a lot more difficult than it is in baseball. And even for like football is kind of the middle ground, but the NBA and the NHL are the team that's got the pockets to pay the luxury tax are going to be the teams that make it to the end pretty much exclusively.
Yeah.
Baseball it's no pun intended. It's a literal wild card. The 6th seed as wild card team, my Philadelphia Phillies, went to a fucking World Series.
Right, it
Like
could
it
happen,
is
yeah.
more exciting. Yeah, I agree completely.
And it's the other thing about the NBA playoffs and even the hockey playoffs, it's the teams that get there, like half the league makes it. It's like they don't really belong there, right? I'm sorry, it happens once in a while in football where a team with a losing record gets in, but not that often. Like it happens almost every year in basketball.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So we agree on that. All right. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're gonna burn through this last segment here because I need to go watch
You've
my
got a Mets
Mets.
game to watch.
We've got to watch the Team of Destiny.
Not
Oh, it's
till
1-1
next
already.
week, maybe.
Holy shit. It's 1-1. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. All right, welcome back. Just so we're going to burn through this really quick. Let's go through the scores, the NFL scores from last week. Give our thoughts on the games that mattered. Cowboys, Giants, 2015. Like the Cowboys won, but did they?
No. No, they didn't win. No, this was like your victory that first week where you won by 3 and called it a blowout. No.
Right. This is like where you like land the hottest chick in school, but find out later that she's your cousin. Is that weird? Saints Falcons. It was a good game. I think both teams are going to be fighting it out for that division, which will be exciting. I think they're so evenly matched, but it's kind of what I expected. It came down to the last possession.
I agree.
Bears Rams. This was kind of I thought the Rams were going to play better. Again, a lot of injuries, but you have a quarterback paying a lot of money. He's supposed to be able to beat teams like this, even when you're banged up. So
I'm
Caleb
on
Williams-
record on this program saying that the Rams are going to be better than the Niners, so it's not looking great for me yet.
No. And Caleb Williams gets a second win. He plays a little bit better. Maybe the Bears are coming along and can compete in that division. because the Vikings and Packers are really good, right? This looked like a blowout early. Vikings won, but Packers made a comeback. It wasn't just garbage time; it was a 2-point win. These teams look like they're going to battle out the entire year.
It's going to be an exciting division over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and Jordan Love coming off of his knee injury. I mean, first week back, he's probably came back way earlier than he normally would have if it wasn't so urgent this early on. So he's going to start playing better and better as he gets healthier and healthier. Colts pulled one out. This was a big letdown for the Steelers. They were playing well. They kind of took a step back, although Justin Fields played the way he has been playing. They happened to lose. Defense didn't play as well. Anthony Richardson went down, but Joe Flacco comes back.
Motherfucking father time, bro. He can never stop winning, apparently.
I tell you what, you know who should have signed Joe Flacco in the offseason is the Miami Dolphins.
Whoa, man, what a different world it would be for Miami right now.
They could have weathered this Tua storm. Broncos Jets. I mean, maybe the worst game I've seen since a 6-3 Eagles victory back in the late 90s between Washington and the Eagles. Like, this was just, granted, there was terrible weather.
I know I was wrong on how, but I believe I did say the Broncos were going to beat the Jets last week. So I'll take that win and move on.
I think you did too. I took them to in the points. But my God, the Jets just look terrible. Terrible. And I think
Aaron Rodgers can't save everybody, buddy.
No. Well, and also he looked pretty bad. Like, he's old. He might have like a
42-year-old. He looked like a 42-year-old with a reconstructed Achilles is what he looked like.
Yeah, he sure did. Bo Nix had like 60 yards passing. I mean, this game was winnable.
Yep.
Bengals, Panthers. The Bengals, no surprise here, came in and beat up on the Red Rifle and the Panthers. 34-24. Jaguars, Texans. Texans pulled one out, but I mean, they're coming back down to earth. Or is it something to be concerned about that they didn't play well last week and or 2 weeks ago, and then this past week they barely pulled one out against the Jaguars? Or was it just a case of like the Jaguars being a desperate team and playing above their talent level?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson's a good coach. Trevor Lawrence is a decent quarterback. They're not going to just roll over for many teams. And the Texans obviously weren't going to be as good as they've seen the last 6 weeks of last season. They obviously were going to come back down to earth. I think this is much more a desperate team playing well against a good team, and the good team won, as they should.
49ers spanked the Patriots, even though the Niners are pretty banged up. I think we expected that. Raiders, Browns. The Browns are a dumpster fire. The Raiders. This is a case of the Raiders not winning this game, just happened to be playing a Browns team that wanted to lose this game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I know that I've condemned Jerry Jones for his $60 million a year for Dakota Prescott, but I think it's time now. We have to start to consider the Deshaun Watson contract the worst contract in all of sports history.
Never liked it. It was terrible.
And I mean, it's week by week we just get proven that this guy is so far out of his element. It's just, man.
Yeah. Well, and in anything, like, I'm not going to get into politics and stuff like that on this show, but in anything in life, character matters to me, right? And Deshaun Watson is a piece of shit. He's a horrible human being.
I think you could have had the same take about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I agree. I think karma comes around to get most of us.
Yeah, I mean, like Aaron Rodgers, I don't like him, but he's not a predator. Borderline rapist.
Yeah, he's not a predator. Aaron Rodgers is just yucky. Deshaun Watson is a fucking predator. I agree.
He is, and I don't want that on my team. Like, if I was a Browns fan, I'd stop watching them until he's gone.
I went through the fucking 6 weeks because everybody here, half of the fucking pundits on Philadelphia Sports Radio wanted to trade for Deshaun Watson, and I was vehemently against it. Because I can't reach for that guy having 4 daughters. I can't.
I would trade. Yeah, I would trade. Even if he was good and they were Super Bowl contenders, I wouldn't care. Off the team, I don't want him. Let's do it the right way.
I agree completely.
Chiefs, Chargers. This was closer than I thought it was going to be. Chiefs continue to win very ugly fashion. They usually find a way to look like the polished Cadillac they are, but right now they look like barely a polished turd. But they keep winning. You got
the best coach of all time. You have what is probably going to be the best quarterback of all time when it's all said and done. And the Chargers, it's weird. The Chargers and the Raiders both, When the Chiefs play those teams, they play them tough every time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, divisional game. Yeah, but the Chargers, look, nobody wants to admit it, but because they have the franchise quarterback, but this is a rebuilding year. They offloaded some major talent, and they have some defensive pieces missing. But this is a small rebuild, not a complete rebuild. But Harbaugh needs to get his guys in there. So
Jim Harbaugh did this in San Francisco. He is a program builder. He can win year one. It was never expected.
Yeah. Ravens blew the Bills out. Personally, I think this is just the Ravens getting right more so than the Bills not as good. I think the Bills are going to come back this week and destroy whoever they're playing, but the Ravens are looking like what we expected them to look like.
This is another example as to why Josh Allen, it's really difficult to put him on the level of Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. He is so good, but he's also so bad. And I think his only comp now, and I think I can say this now, what are we, 7 years into Josh Allen?
Yeah.
I think his only comp is Brett Favre. Yeah. And that's a compliment. Brett Favre was a really good quarterback. He won a Super Bowl, but Brett Favre also is the all-time record holder for turnovers. So, hey, listen, you're going to eventually win with him because he's good enough, but a lot of shit's got to go right for Josh Allen to be successful.
I tell you what, and it's a great comparison because what Brett Favre is number one at is fun to watch.
Correct.
I'm not a Packers fan. I tuned into every Packers game I could when he played because it was just a blast to watch.
Because he was fucking goofy and he was big and he could move a little bit better than he looked like he should be able to. He extended plays. He took chances. It's entertaining. It's just not elite quarterback play.
Yeah. Titans, Dolphins. I mean,
what do we need to say? The Dolphins are going to lose every game for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the Titans are putting up 31 points with their backup quarterback. Will Levis hurt his arm, his muscles. His big quarterback muscles got hurt in the third play, and no one even touched him. He just dove.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're wound that tight.
Listen, man, the Dolphins are a dumpster fire. They put all of their eggs in a basket of a quarterback who already had too many concussions before he was drafted.
Yeah. His health has to be the number one thing, but he's going to do what he's going to do. Lions, Seahawks. I thought this game felt like it was closer than the score. Two good teams. The Lions are clearly the better team right now. Gino didn't play bad, but
bro, in the NFC, the Lions are a real team, man. Dan Campbell has that group of men playing every fucking down every fucking week. I love seeing it.
And I think Seattle's trending in the right direction, but they might be a year away from being truly competitive. But they're gonna put up some wins for sure.
I agree.
Let's see. Who do you like for Thursday night?
I mean, I have to say the Falcons after what the Bucs just did to my team, don't I?
I don't know. Do you hate the Bucs that much, or I mean,
well, 33-16. I think I hate them.
The Eagles lost the game more than the Bucs win. It's not their fault that the Eagles didn't show up.
I like Atlanta at home here. I don't think that this is going to be a blowout. I don't think there's a ton of points scored. I think that these teams play each other tough too. I like Atlanta, man. I hate Kirk Cousins, but that motherfucker wins regular season games. I think the Falcons at home. I think it's. What's the line on this game? Probably a coin flip, a point and a half, 2 points.
You got it. 1.5 Falcons.
Yeah. This is a fucking coin flip. When I'm in this position, if I have to make a choice, I'll usually ride with the home team. I think Kirk Cousins is better than Baker Mayfield. I think the Atlanta coaching staff is a little bit better than what they have in Tampa Bay, and Atlanta's at home. But again, I think if either team wins by a field goal, it's not surprising.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just to be a dick, I'm going to take the Buccaneers for the same reasons that you gave for the Falcons. I think Baker's a little bit better than Cousins at this point in his career.
That's fucking egregious, but I won't argue with you about
it. Kirk Cousins is almost 40 years old coming off an Achilles. Baker's coming into his prime.
That coming into his prime is fucking wild. That is a worse take than Team of Dynasty. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Devontae sweepstakes.
Who cares? Jeffrey, who cares? I have to say this. This fucking world that we build around these aging wide receivers that do fuck all nothing for anyone. I did this as a Philadelphia Eagle a handful of years ago when this happened with Alshon Jeffrey, who was the best receiver available. Everyone went fucking nuts. We did win a Super Bowl with him. He was a good player. But Devontae Adams is not Justin Jefferson. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not A.J. Brown. He's a good wide receiver, top 15 in his position. Who fucking cares? He's not a difference maker. He quit on a team that is winning when they shouldn't be. Antonio Pierce makes me want to run through a fucking wall. And that kind of couldn't motivate you, Devontae Adams? Go back to the Jets. The still rest of Aaron Rodgers' career winning nothing like you did before. No one gives a shit. I can't fucking stand that guy.
Mets are up 3-0 or 3-1.
Oh boy, Jesus Christ.
Do you think he's going? I mean, the front runner is clearly the Jets. Dallas.
I think he goes to the Jets. I don't know anybody else that's in a position to want to go get him. The Cowboys can't fit him under the cap, and they're not going to give up anything to get there. I think the Jets are the only team that makes sense. Could we see a team like, I don't know, like Houston? I know they have Stephon Diggs, and I know that Tank Dell is good, but he's hurt all the time. Houston could be kind of a backdoor, maybe. I think the Jets make the most sense. Hassan Reddick has not shown up for a day. They have to offload his contract to somebody. The Jets are probably willing to give up a second-round pick to go get Aaron Rodgers' best fucking friend. I think the Jets are the only team that makes sense.
Here's what I would say. I don't think they're the only team that makes sense. I think that's what it's going to be ultimately, because they're not going to trade him within the division. Although, if I'm the Raiders and I know that we're not competing for the next couple years at least, I would like to get as much as I can for him. And they want a second round. I don't know if they're going to get it or not. But if a team like Kansas City, which you know you're not going to compete with this year, is willing to give you a second round or a second round and a fifth round, or a second round and a young player or something like that, why not do it? Like,
I don't think Andy Reid will bring that guy in. I think if the storyline wasn't that he quit, if Antonio Pierce didn't show up in the post-game press conference and basically called him out almost by name, I think what you're saying might make some sense. I don't think Andy Reid takes the risk on that guy in his locker room.
Yeah, but I mean, with Rashid Rice going down, it might be a chance worth taking. I don't know. We'll see. I think if anything, it's going to be the Jets. But it's fun to speculate a little bit. I
would accept that the only other possibility is probably Kansas City. I would agree with that.
Who do you like this weekend? Anybody specific? Did you look at the lines?
I didn't look at many of the lines, but I did just have the schedule. Hold on one second. I'll pull it back up.
Yeah, so Jets, Vikings, Minnesota -2.5. That seems really. That seems like too obvious.
I think the Vikings at home are probably going to win by a touchdown,
well,
but I don't
London.
necessarily want to call that a lock.
They're in London.
Oh, yeah. I don't listen, man. It is Aaron Rodgers, and I know that he just lost the game without really putting up anything. I can't. Minnesota, to me, and say, listen, Sam Darnold is a cool story, but like eventually that team's going to come back down to earth, and it might be against Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you, I hate this for me. I absolutely hate this for me. I have two for you. I think that the Commanders beat the Browns by double digits. I think the easiest pick this week is the Commanders probably beat the Browns somewhere around 27-10. I don't think the Browns are going to do much of anything for the rest of the year. So I'll give you your Washington Commanders as the first one. And I think the second one, I again hate this with a passion. But I want an upset, and I think the Packers are going to beat the Rams at home.
You think the Packers are going to beat the Rams? Oh, I see.
Rams are at home. I think the Packers are going to beat the Rams in their building.
Well, the Packers are -3, so that, I mean, the Rams would be the dog there.
Yeah, I can't go with these betting lines, Jeffrey. -3 means to me it's a coin flip if they're at home. I know
so you're just starting your own casino?
Yeah, listen, man, if we don't understand at this point that Vegas is here to take your money and not help you make it, I don't know what to tell you. A 3-point line is a coin flip for the home team.
It is, yeah. You get 3 points for being at home. Game of the week, Justin. 1:00 on Fox, Dolphins, Patriots. Who do you like? New England's -1.
Oh, man, this is the worst game possible, I guess. I mean, you have to go Patriots, right? In New England, you have to go Patriots. The Dolphins look like a fucking literal dumpster fire.
I'm saying 0-0 tie. Take the points.
Yo, listen to me, bro. If we live long enough to see a fucking 0-0 tie in the NFL, I've lived long enough. You know what I'm saying?
If any two teams can do it, pull it off, it's those two right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots are just a bad team, and the Dolphins, again, man, They are a ship with no fucking engine, man. They're just drifting out in sea.
Bills Texans, good game. Buffalo's favored by a point.
Yeah, see, this is why I didn't want to co-sign here. The Bills are going to blow out who they play next. I think the Bills lose to the Texans. Not in the same fashion. They're not going to get beat 35-10 like the fucking Ravens just did them. It'll be a closer game, but this is like a field goal game. I think the Texans 24, Bills 21. I think that the Texans will go outlast the Bills.
Cowboys Steelers, Pittsburgh minus 2.5.
Fuck them both. Pittsburgh minus 2.5. You see, this is where I'm saying. If the fucking Cowboys just gave their quarterback $60 million and they're going to play a team like the Steelers and they're being given points, let a paper tiger. Fuck the Cowboys. Just for that, you know what? The Steelers are going to dominate. They're going to cover by double.
It's a game. It seems like a game I would stay away from, but I almost want to. Yeah, I'm with you. The Steelers, right? They have to win that game.
Absolutely, and they cover and they win by double. The Steelers by 6.
I think the Steelers defense is so good. They're coming off of getting beat up a little bit. They're going to be fired up. I don't think you need offense to beat the Cowboys right now.
I agree. I agree.
Seahawks Giants should be a good game. I still don't think the Giants are as bad as everyone thinks they are. But
careful wearing that New York hat on your head.
I mean, I guess if I had
like a Daniel Jones sympathizer.
I wouldn't call it a sympathizer. He's one of those. He's like he's probably a little bit better than Trent Dilfer. They paid him too much money. If he was willing to play for $15 million a year and you put a whole team around him of elite athletes, stars, he might be able to win. I'm not saying a Super Bowl, but he probably could compete.
Daniel Jones is the only quarterback I've ever saw tackle himself. He sucks.
Well, what about Sanchez, the butt fumble?
That he was tackled by the ass of one of his offensive linemen. That wasn't his own feet.
That's very true. All right. Finally, my favorite segment. Baseball names. Classic baseball names.
I have 2 this week, so I'm going to let you go first.
All right. I'm going to give you, this is a tragic story. Man died very young, very sad, but he had one of the best baseball names. A name that you would the only sport that you would find this name in ever is Ken Caminiti.
That's a good one.
That's
an obscure one, too.
First of all, don't ever trust anyone named Ken. But Caminiti and the two combined, Ken Caminiti was a solid third baseman for a long time. Career 239 home runs, 983 RBIs, career 272 average, and a 350 on base percentage, 794 OPS. Those players don't go on trees. He's one of those. You have a great team and you need like 1 or 2 more pieces, but you don't have a lot of money to spend. You go out and get a Ken Caminiti, and he's going to show up every day and play for you.
For sure. I agree with you. So my 2, I'm going to go with the current one first. My 2 are both modern. But I think this name gets looked over so often because of how good he is. I don't care what you tell me. There's never going to be an athlete or sport other than baseball where a guy named Mookie Betts is relevant. It might be the best baseball name currently, right now.
Well, and he's the second Mookie.
Yeah.
The Mets had a Mookie.
And when have you ever heard of a Mookie in any other sport? It's only baseball.
Just baseball.
But in honor of hoping that your New York Mets blow this lead that they've just attained, my favorite, my biased favorite personal baseball name is gonna be Chase Utley. I don't know what it is when I hear the name Chase Utley. I immediately smell a baseball field. Immediately.
Yeah. No, you're right. Chase is a baseball name, and Utley, you're not going to find the name Utley in hockey or football or basketball.
Nope. It's a unique baseball name, and unfortunately, I am a realist. Not a Hall of Famer. He doesn't deserve it. If any of them do from that run, he does. But the unfortunate part is none of them do. Jimmy was great, but not good enough. Ryan Howard only played for 6 real seasons. And Chase was the best of the bunch, but he's still not a Hall of Famer.
Well, and Chase Utley he's probably like a level above the Ken Caminettis, right? He's a major piece that you need to win, but he's not going to be the superstar on the team, right? He's gonna show up every day. He's gonna play hard-nosed baseball. He's gonna dive for every ball. He's gonna slide. He's gonna take your break up double plays.
He's gonna break the legs of Mets second baseman. Yes, he is. That's what he does.
Dirty slide. I'm not saying that his whole career should be defined by that, but that was a shitty move.
He's gonna be the only guy in modern baseball history that was allowed to lean into pitches anytime he decided to.
Yep. He's gonna. Yeah. He's.
Now, one quick thing, because I said Hall of Fame, and I want to run this by you because R.I.P. to that weirdo lunatic, but Pete Rose just died.
Yeah.
Pete Rose, and I hope we can agree on this and end this on a very positive note. Pete Rose is a no doubt should be Hall of Famer, right? Who cares what he bet on? He 100%. Should be Hall of Famer. Okay,
100%. Good. But this is my disclaimer to all that. Just like with the steroid era, you put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame because he's one of the best players to ever live. His numbers back that up. You put an asterisk by it and you say this guy played during the steroid era. He never tested positive for steroids, but he was most likely on steroids. But so was everyone else. Even the non-Hall of Famers. So you put an asterisk next to his name. This is one of the greatest hitters of all time. The reason why he's controversial is because he bet on baseball.
Jeff, put this on the itinerary for next week because we have to have this debate. We touched on it last episode of the one before. Barry Bonds is the greatest player of all time, and I have a very good reason, and we need to debate this topic because I felt like when I said that, you were like, oh, maybe. There's no question to me. He's the only athlete in sports history, American sports history, that had two separate Hall of Fame careers in one. We got to argue about this.
That, I don't disagree, but I still think that you need to preface his Hall of Fame careers with the fact that he played during the steroid era and most likely was on steroids, even though he didn't test positive. There's the whole, especially all Hall of Fames, but especially the Baseball Hall of Fame, just because the sport is so old, is an ongoing story, right? And every era, right? The Negro Leagues, the dead ball era, the World War II era, all have a story, right? There should be an asterisk next to the players that went to World War II. The reason why they don't have the numbers that everybody else has is because they missed 3 years of their career, right? Those stories need to be told in conjunction with just putting the player in the Hall of Fame. I
think opening up the stat books to the Negro Leagues is a step in that direction, where the story is going to get told more clearly. I agree.
Absolutely. Another reason why it's one of my favorite sports, because there's so much, there's endless things to talk about and discuss and debate. There's no other sport like it.
I agree.
Until next week, where we come back and we'll try to do better. I'll be watching my Mets win, and by this time next week, if the Mets do advance, we'll have probably they'll have a day off.
They'll play on the 5th. The Philly series starts on the 5th.
Right, so they'll be well into that series.
Yes, your Mets will be down 2-0 the next time we talk to each other.
Yeah, we'll see. Good luck in your bye week. Sitting there, you're not going to lose. Congratulations. It's about time.
Thank you. I don't like that you had to get one last knife in there, but I'll take it.
All right, we'll see you. Take care, buddy.
All right, man. Not so great, Jeffrey, as a Mets fan, that Chase Utley goes away and Rhys Hoskins just basically shows up and says, "Hey, Mets, I'm your new asshole."
Well, there's so many of them, right? Like, there's so many Mets killers. Bryce Harper's a Met killer. Like, Chipper Jones named his daughter Shay because he destroyed the Mets. Like, Pat Burrell. Like, he's a nobody except for when he played there. His whole career
not Chipper Jones might be the greatest troll of human history.
The greatest troll in sports history. Yeah, it's so funny. Bravo, Mr. Jones, bravo. You win the day forever.
A View from the Nosebleeds is brought to you by White Horse Studios. Any unauthorized distribution will result in a punch to your stupid face.